Hey guys, I got to share something I've never told anyone before. But guess what? You're not alone in this. That's the real deal.
Everyone, and welcome to the Real Room podcast with me, your host Ross. And today I have a special guest. My special guest is Emma. She is a bit of an entrepreneur and she's gone through some life-changing things as well. So, Emma, please can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Emma, and I am the founder and director of Karen's Haven for COPD, which is a community interest company. It's very similar. It's a not-for-profit organisation, and that has been launched in honour of my mum, who passed away 8 months ago with COPD. And yeah, done a lot of reflecting since then and before then, and personal journey, personal development still continues to grow.
That's it's a fantastic introduction as well. And I'm sorry for the loss of your mother and everything.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, it happens to everyone, I suppose. But it's hard when you lose, you know, your rock of your world, and
Yeah.
it sort of like crumbles because some people, when they lose a loved one, they find it hard to, carry on doing everyday life and everything. But unfortunately, as harsh as it sounds, life does go on. You can't just be in that rut and be like, well, I can't be asked doing this, I can't be asked doing that, because
Yeah.
really that's not the mindset and the mentality to have, I suppose, in one respect, because
Mm.
if that person was still here, they'd kick your ass and be like, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is not how I
My
raised you.
mum would, yeah. My mum was
Exactly.
such a strong spirited person. I mean, she had so much grace and dignity that she's just that is literally been reborn in. I mean, I've got a brother and a sister as well, and yeah, we were all just very fierce people. I mean, my brother and my nephew, for the charity for Karen's Haven, actually they rode their bikes from Glossop to Amsterdam in 6 days. So that was just an incredible achievement, and they raised nearly £2,500 for the organisation, which I was beyond proud about. So I mean, we're newly established, and my mum's legacy will continue. I mean, she had a heart of gold, and she was just, yeah, but she was pint sized for 5 foot nothing. You wouldn't have crossed her. You wouldn't have said Vita Goose with it, honestly. Like, well, yeah, we're making great progress.
You know what? I think it's mad because my grandma, when she was alive, God bless her soul, she was only small as well, like you
Yeah,
saying about your mum. But would you piss her off? Would you heck? Because
old school,
if you cross that line with my grandma, slippers off. Wow, not a
old
smack on your
school
head.
methods.
She will chuck the slipper at the back of your head while you're trying to run off,
That's the
and she'd
thing.
paste you.
Yeah, that's the thing. We used to get a look. It was
Yeah,
a certain look,
the
and
look on
yeah,
you, it's like, I'm watching you.
yeah,
Behave. Oh, it's a slight head tilt and the eyes are beaming. And it's just like,
absolutely.
sorry. See,
Yeah,
this is a thing as well. Like, I'm gonna go off topic here a little bit, but like the younger generation now, compared to how we had it, like we knew when to pack it in, because obviously we would have the look. They
mm,
didn't have to say anything. They didn't have to raise their
that
hands.
sharp look.
Nothing like that. It's just that sharp, stern look.
Yeah,
But nowadays, kids are getting away with actual murder. Do you know what I mean? And it's ridiculous because of the
yeah,
discipline and the justice system. It's shit. It really is, and it's just like, well, apparently now you can't even hit your kid, not as in like an abusive way, but like as in discipline. because I was talking to someone about it, and I was like, if my kid did that, I'd tap them, like, you know, give them
Yeah,
a smack on the wrist for, like, you know,
yeah,
discipline, like behave. No, you can't
yeah.
do that because you can get arrested for it. And it's just like,
It's too, yeah, yeah.
what's
Things are
changed now?
too
Because like when
lenient
we was
now.
younger, you know, if you stepped out of line, you get a pacing. Do you know what I mean? You get a proper good hiding,
Yeah,
smack
you
on the
wouldn't
wrist or
dare.
something, or smack on the backside.
Mm,
And then obviously it's like, you know, you've learnt your lesson, don't do it again, sort of thing. I
yeah,
mean, if we want to talk about the olden days, then going back, you know, obviously I'm only 31, do you know what I mean? I know you're older than me, but it's like when you misbehave back then, you know,
mm,
you could get a good hiding in school, and
yeah.
then if you ever got arrested, you get a good hiding. Then you go home and get a good hiding. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Yeah,
It's
things
so
have changed
changed
so much.
drastically. It really does baffle me.
Even, I mean, I've got older children. My eldest daughter is 26 now, and it's the times that have changed are just, it's just unreal how things have changed. I mean, I'm very old school anyway. My mum raised us to have respect for ourselves, to have manners, to have morals, to have all the basic components that basically what money can't buy. And now it's just a shame how certain elements of those characteristics in people just seem to have kind of diminished a little bit, in terms of like I say, my kids are 26, 24, and 15, and I know that I've raised very well-rounded individuals. They're respectful, they're well-mannered, they've got respect for
Yeah.
themselves, they have respect for people's properties, and to me that's across the board. That goes without saying. But unfortunately, in some cases, it's not the case for other people.
See, this is quite interesting as well that we're talking about this topic because I always wonder, and I always have this conversation with other people, like who do you reckon's to blame here? Is it the parents? Because some people's parents really don't care, and it's like, you know, they won't even tell them off. Like they'll do something naughty, and then they won't go, "Oh, don't do that. That's wrong." That, you know, they just maybe look and laugh and be like, you know, and then that's encouraging them and egging them on, then, and like boosting their ego. Like, oh well, it's funny, it's a joke, it's allowed to. Do you know what I mean? I've not been told no to do this. Do you know what I mean? And then it's just like, well, you know, you can't even chastise your children no more these days because people are too afraid to chastise the children in case of phone up child services and go, oh well, my dad's just hit me or my mum's hit me or my gran, my auntie, my
Mm.
uncle, my cousin, whoever. Do you know what I mean? And
It's difficult because you can't.
can't really point the finger at one person and go, it's your fault. Do you know what I mean?
I
It's
mean, personally, I think a child's behaviour stems at home, and when parents, I don't know, if they start blaming schools and things like that, um, you can look at different fundamentals like nature versus nurture, and is it crowd behaviour? Then you're looking into the sociological side of things, and
yeah,
but I think, I mean, it's difficult when you've got children and you could have two, three children, and they've all got very different personalities, very different ways of looking at things, very different traits in terms of like how they'll approach something. But I think as a parent, and I've got three children, and I've got three children with very different personalities, and I would approach um a situation very, so one of my children is more sensitive than the other, so I would approach that situation probably more tactfully, as opposed to one of my other kids. I give them a chastising and like bollock them, so to speak. But I think it's important to also recognize with with your children is how to approach a situation, and how they're going to handle it, and how they're going to work with you in that situation as well, not to kind of get the backs up and have them go off the rails and go and do, you know, it's kind of you there's no handbook when it comes to parenting. There's no written
No,
rule.
definitely not.
There's no
Like,
written rule book. So it's a case of like trial and error, get your child to work with you, not work
work
against
against
you.
you. Yeah. No, I agree at 110% on that, because
Yeah.
could you imagine that though? Like if you're going into hospital and going into labour and having a baby, and they go, right, there you go, there's a book, the size of a Bible or a thesaurus or whatever,
No
whatever's dead
handbook.
thick and thick, and going, right, there you go. That's how to be a parent. This is what you need to do. This is the do's and the don'ts and the yeses and the
Yeah.
no's, and how to look after your child, how to do this and with that, and because life is so
There's no
unexpected.
handbook, yeah.
No, because who's not to say, like, your child could come out with additional needs and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
from someone who's normal to someone who's not normal, do you know what I mean? And I probably sound bad saying like not normal, but someone with additional needs and everything, compared to someone who hasn't got additional needs, because someone could come out and they could be real bad autistic, and they would need that extra support, whereas you get a child who's got nothing wrong with them. And again, going back to how you handle a situation with someone who's got autism, because they don't understand set things, they
I
could
think in
be
that situation, I
non-verbal
think,
and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, no one knows your child better than the parent,
Exactly.
and no matter what external agencies or support network you've got, no one will ever know your child better than you. So in the past, I've worked with families. I used to be a drug and alcohol worker and counsellor, and I would always work with families who had children who they were struggling. They were finding their home life very difficult, and I would go in and support families and say to the parents, "You're the expert in this situation. I'm not the expert. I I'm a professional in what I do, and how I will advise and guide and liaise and in the situation." I said, "But when it comes to your children, when it comes to your home life, you're the expert. I'm not the expert."
Yeah.
And that's whether the child's got additional needs, whether the child needs external support from schools and through teachers. I think what's frustrating as well for a lot of parents is when these professionals will come in and say, "This is what you should be doing, this is how you should be doing it." And as a parent, I would find that really frustrating. So I would not come into someone's home and say, "This is how you should be communicating with your child, this is how you should be doing X, Y, Z." I don't think that's appropriate within a household, regardless whether the child's got additional needs or whether, that they're playing up at school. I think it's very important to just recognise that the parent is the expert.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's
Mm,
it's one of them situations, isn't it? Really. So,
yeah.
um, obviously, before we spoke as well, off camera, you mentioned that you are currently writing a book. What is this book about,
So
or what is it going to be about?
right, okay. So the book that I'm actually writing, I'm about 30,000 words in so far. So it's an autobiography about my life, and it's from my childhood all the way up to um the present day.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've experienced a lot of things throughout my life, medically, physically, things like, so, and I wanted it to kind of be more of an inspirational book to indicate to people that you can go through a hell of a lot of shit and still
Yeah.
be a good person at the end of it, still do good, still support people, still help people. I mean, just in the last 5 years alone, I've dealt with cancer 3 years ago. An ex-partner taking me to court to try and get custody of my dog. Yeah, homelessness, bereavement, losing
I
my
can
mum.
understand going to court over trying to fight for the children, but over a dog, that's quite quite barbaric if you ask me.
Yeah, you couldn't write it. You could, if I you say you couldn't write.
Well, gonna
Ironically,
write,
I'm
but
actually
you are
writing a
writing
book.
about it.
You know what I mean? Like, but this is the thing. So, but as well, like I have a very, very positive outlook. I have a very positive mindset. Like I have this saying where no amount of guilt can change the past, and no amount of anxiety will ever change the future. You've got to work with what you're dealing with right now. You've got to literally face. You're going forward anyway, and even when you hit rock bottom, and I'm talking about the depths of the bottom. If you've got the ability to turn around and say, well, the only way from here now is up, that's what you're dealing with. That's the outlook that you've got to go forward with. And obviously, I'm a therapist slash life coach, and that's my forte for going forward is and working with my clients is you've got to literally look at 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of you. You can't stay rigid. You can't say why me. You've got to have the attitude of try me. You've got to say I can just deal with it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but on the flip side of things, people find it hard to see, past even what's in front of them. So, you know, if you're saying to a client or whoever you're speaking to, you need to look 4 or 5 steps ahead, and
Mm.
they can't see it from the feet. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to have that mindset because some people do, and I'm not like discouraging what you do. And I think it's fantastic and everything. And obviously, I know personally what you've been through.
Yeah.
But when people are in that mindset, it's so hard. And I can speak from experience as well because I find it hard sometimes. Trying to be in a positive mindset. Like I've been in a dark place. I've been hostile. I've been homeless. I'm in a shared house at the moment currently.
Yeah.
So I do you know understand what it's like to go through them certain situations. I'm luckily enough not to have any of the health conditions that you've had.
Yeah.
And you've fought it with all your bones in your body and all the might as well. And I
Yeah.
think it's absolutely fantastic. But
Thank you.
when it comes to people's mindsets, obviously everyone's different, and I think it's quite hard to, you know, say to someone, you need to look them extra steps. Do you know what I mean?
So the difficulty in that is someone has to be in that position to be able to move forward, because then obviously there's certain situations, someone extremely close to me, and I can't name her for confidential
No.
reasons, but someone extremely close to me, I've had to sit and watch her go. She's had 7 hospital admissions, mental health admissions. 2 of those were she was under was it postnatal psychosis. So she was sectioned on 2 occasions due to postnatal psychosis. Now, if I'd have sat down with her at that moment in time and said to her, right, let's just think positive and let's 2, 3. There's not a chance, not a chance,
Oh
because
yeah, no,
obviously
definitely.
we're talking medical mental health. So when I'm saying to look 2, 3 steps ahead and to start, planning to get from A to B and increasing your confidence and increasing your resilience, I'm talking about being able to be in that position. Now, the person who's extremely close to me, her latest hospital admission was 2 years ago. Well,
Yeah.
just a little over 2 years ago. She was admitted after the birth of a son, and she was sectioned due to postnatal psychosis. And she's an advocate for that. Now, she was discharged at the end of August, 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And no, it was a bit later than two, so just a little over 2 years ago. She was discharged at the end of August, and at the beginning of September, she enrolled into college because she wanted to do a mental health degree, mental health nursing degree she wanted to do. At the time, I thought it's a bit too soon to kind of go straight into education. But because of her mindset, and she was determined to do it, she was still obviously under the care of the mental health team, and she'd not long been discharged from hospital. But because she had this determination to
The
go
drive and the
to
passion.
college, yeah, she was so determined. She started college and she smashed every single one of her assignments with a distinction.
Yeah.
And she then enrolled to go to university to do the mental health nursing degree, and she was accepted into 5 different universities. And now she's currently working towards the end of a second year in a mental health nursing degree. So yes, there's a certain time when somebody cannot see past defeat, see past the. Some people can't see to the afternoon from the morning because
Yeah.
so they physically they don't want to be here for whatever reasons to them.
Mm.
But at the very earliest opportunity that you can, as soon as you can get that mind in a bit of more of a focused way of thinking, then the only way to move forward is to actively plan, because then you've got something to work towards then.
Yeah. No, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying there. Obviously,
Mm.
that makes more logic and reasonable sense, because obviously, if you're telling someone who, can't see from morning till afternoon, and you're like, it's okay, you need to have the mindset of seeing five paces ahead of you,
Yeah.
obviously, then it's going to affect their mindset so drastically, and they're going to be like, well, I don't know what to do, and it's going to maybe put them in panic mode. But obviously, if
Yeah.
you're telling someone who's more clear-headed and more level-headed as well, let's say, and they're in that good mindset, they're in that positive space as well, and you saying to them like, okay, well, you're here now, let's get you up here. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Let's get
Mhm.
you from, get you out of your house, maybe do a bit of voluntary work,
Mm.
doing, and then get you into something from that voluntary work, getting you into maybe a job 1 to 2 days, a week.
Yeah. And
That's
that's the key as well. That's really important to be able to. It's about goal setting as well, because if I
yeah,
came in if I sat with a service user and I said, right, next week I want you to be applying for jobs, blah blah blah, that would be too overwhelming. That would be far too much for them to even contemplate. But by working with service users, when I worked with addiction service users, we would do very, very small goal setting, which would then give them. And when I say goal setting, I could go around to their premises, to their homes, and I sit there and I say, right, so instead of me ringing up today to get somebody out to fix the door, I'll sit here, you give them a call, and little goals like that will build the confidence up to be able to
yeah,
actually I feel a little bit more. I can be a bit more assertive. I can say, this needs fixing in my home, can somebody come out to fix it? Whereas the week before they wouldn't even make that phone call because for various reasons they won't that they won't feel that they were worthy of the support. They won't feel that they were able to assert themselves, to ask somebody to come out and fix that. So I think everybody, when it comes to moving forward and being able to achieve something, everyone's goals are completely different. Everyone's abilities to achieve certain goals have a completely different time frame. So for me, it's not about getting somebody from A to B, and it's about someone feeling more confident and more self-assertive to say, well, I've achieved that a little bit more today, or I've achieved that little bit more this week, and next
Yeah.
week here's where I want to be. And that for me, it's so empowering to be able to have that little bit of self-confidence to say, I can do it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what made you get into this line of work anyway, if you don't mind me asking?
Don't mind asking at all. So I trained as a therapist 22 years ago. And the reason why I trained as a therapist was because in my mind, I needed to understand how the mind worked. And that came from after the birth of my daughter. So I had my daughter, I had my first child when I was 18. And
All right,
after
you don't have to tell your age or anything.
no, I did. I was.
We'll keep the suspense.
I'm old. I'm old. Yeah. So after I had my daughter, I was 18, and I developed a very, very, very debilitating anxiety, depression. I had very severe health anxiety. Went to my GP, very old school GP. He turned around and said to me, postnatal depression doesn't exist. So I was like, what do I do now? And then he said to me, well, I'll refer you to a therapist anyway. So he said, right. So he referred me to a therapist, a person-centered therapist. I go to my first appointment, and she sat there and she said, oh, if you think you're bad, I've got clients who can't even get out of bed. So I looked at her and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? You know, am I being punished because I've made the effort to come to my appointment, and I'm not telling you that, you know, we're going back to that thing where everybody's at completely different paces and different stages of their healing. So again, like it was so debilitating. Like I stayed in for 6 months. I couldn't leave the house. I was convinced. My health anxiety was so debilitating. I was convinced if I leave the house, I'm going to die. If I leave the house, as soon as I leave the house, something's going to happen to me. And it becomes so debilitating that I didn't even want to be on my own with my daughter. I wanted family members to sit with me because I was worried, you know, what if I get to a point where I become so unwell that I hurt my child, or what, you know, the anxiety and the depression was just so bad, and there was no support. You know, and we're talking 26 years ago now, and there was no support back then, as there is more now.
Yeah.
So a couple of years, so it got to a point where I started to self-help. I started reading information. I was self-helping, and I needed to become. I thought, well, therapy for me didn't work. It didn't help, because not that it wouldn't have helped or in any other way, but that I found that particular therapist very unhelpful. So I thought, well, what better way to understand or to help myself than to become a therapist myself? So that's when I undertook my training, and I've loved it ever since then. I did that. I did my person-centered therapy training. So then I was an addictions and I was an alcohol and addictions therapist. Then I went on to do my adult nursing because I always wanted to be a nurse anyway. So I went on to do my adult nursing. And then from there, I've done like my life coaching. And now, obviously, like I'm doing the Karen's Haven for COPD. So, but yeah, so I've had my own personal experiences with anxiety and depression. So when I'm helping people, I'm not just helping people from a textbook. I'm helping people from personal experience because I've been there. literally in the depths of crapness, literally, where it's just felt unbelievably shit. So it's, you know, I am understanding everyone goes through things completely different. So I would never say to one of my service users or my clients, I know how you're feeling, because you genuinely don't. You don't know how someone's feeling, but you can understand their perspectives of where they're coming from.
So from like obviously what you just said then, I think obviously the first thing that got my back up a little bit was the fact that the therapist said to you what they said in it, like obviously, you know, sort of like point scoring and, you know,
Yeah.
saying like, oh well, this client is worse off than you. You shouldn't talk about other clients like that, because
No.
it's for one, it's confidentiality. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, if they went, oh,
Yeah.
John never comes in because he's always in bed and he can't make an appointment and such a thing. Obviously, that's definitely breaching confidentiality. But
Yeah.
they shouldn't be comparing you for a start. To be honest with you,
No.
and
No.
I think it's really good as well, the fact that, you know, you don't do it from a textbook as well, because, you know, a lot of doctors and health professionals as well, they just do it from a textbook, and it's just like, where's the passion? You know what I mean? Where's the ambition? Where's the drive? Whereas you've got it all. Do you know what I mean? You've lived through it all.
Literally.
You know, you've had the cancer. You've whooped its ass. You know, you pretty much look death in its face and gone like, "Fuck you, you're not having me." Do you know what I mean? And it's just, and I think you're
It's
out.
difficult.
Well, yeah, it's
It is
difficult, and
hard. It
I
is
think you're quite
hard.
outstanding as well as a role model to
Oh,
other
thank
people.
you.
No, I'm just saying it as it is. You know what I mean? You don't need to thank me, but it's just you should be told this quite frequently as well, because you are a role model to people, and you know, people who suffer with mental health as well. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure you aspire them as well. Do you know what I mean?
It's very difficult when you're in the depths of it. So I've always had a lot of drive to succeed. And when I was pregnant with my youngest son, who is nearly 16 now, but when I was pregnant with him and I first had him, it was during my degree. I was doing a health science degree, and I had him during my second year. And literally he was born, and within I think he was about 4 or 5 weeks old. And when he was born, I actually took him to uni with me to lectures, because I just wasn't missing any of my uni work. But then when he was 4 or 5 weeks old, I was admitted to hospital with a clot in my lung.
Hmm.
So I was on the high dependency unit, HDU. And I remember I spoke to the consultant, and I said to the consultant, I said, you need to discharge me on Friday, or give me home leave. And he said, why? So I said, because I've got a presentation at university on Monday and I need to go and do my presentation. I can't defer it. And I remember him looking at me, and he was like, the university will understand, you're in hospital. And I said, no, it's not up for negotiation. I need to go and do this presentation on Monday. Because so I spoke to the dean of the university and I spoke to my lecturer, and my consultant did say, he said, if your warfarin levels, if your INR levels are in range on Friday, I'll discharge you. But this is the thing where, so that determination, that passion, I've always had that. I was discharged on the Friday, and I did go to university on the Monday, and I did do my presentation. I did it sat down. They let me sit down, but I did get to university on the Monday and do my presentation. And I remember my mum always used to say to everybody, "Oh, I never forget like going in hospital and going visiting her in hospital, and she had her books all across the bed, and she was doing, you know, you're supposed to be resting, but she was doing a presentation and things like that, like." yeah, and I always used to say to my mum, like, I got my determination and my strength from her, because she was just the when I wrote my book, and you'd hear it. My mum's story is more heroic than mine. My mum's background, um, and what she went through was miraculous. Like, I've never known anyone to be as strong as her. And I'm not even saying, I'm not even being biased because she's my mum. If someone had told me down the street, so what someone had been through, what my mum went through at such a young age. I mean, just a snippet of it. She lost her mum and dad before she was 20. And she had 3 children. She was a single parent, and she took on her own brother and sister. So at 23, she had 5 children. And in the 80s, we're talking about in the 70s and 80s, Maggie Thatcher's times. And she, like I say, she was just heroic.
Yeah, no, I can picture it myself, to be honest with you, when you was just describing it, and it must have been so hard back then to
Mm,
not only raise your own children, but to raise your own siblings as well, because
yeah,
you know it's
yeah,
hard to be that mother figure as well, because not only that, she had to be a sister as well, but a mother
that's the thing.
to a brother and sister and a children as well, and it's just like,
Yeah,
how can you have the mentality and the mindset to do that sort of stuff? Do you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
like I've got one son, and I don't want any more, but it's just
mm,
like I feel I really do feel for people who've got, two, three, four, five, six. How many other kids you've got? If you've got more than one,
yeah,
I think it's a lot of hard work personally, because you've got to cater for everyone, and it's just,
yeah,
especially if they're all at young ages as well. I suppose it's not too hard when there's a bit of an age gap between them all.
yeah.
Like, for example, me and my sister, there's 7 years between me and my sister. So I'm 31 now. My sister's 23 now.
Right. Okay.
So that, obviously that wasn't a bad age
Yeah.
gap. Do you know what I mean? But it's just it. This is what, going back to what I was saying before. It's so nice to hear someone who's in that sort of, like, sector of the health
Yeah.
profession, and they're not just doing it for a paycheck, because most people just do a job for a paycheck. I mean,
Exactly.
if it's a boring 9 to 5, yeah, fine, fair enough, like a warehouse job. No
Yeah.
one's gonna go to a warehouse job and be like, "Oh, I love my job. Whoa, come on, boys, come on, girls."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like,
Yeah.
no, you're going in for a paycheck because one, you need to put a roof over your head. Two, you need to put
Yeah.
clothes on your back. Three, you need to feed yourself. And it's not
Yeah.
even feeding yourself. You need to feed you, your partner, your kids. So that I can understand in that respect. But
Yeah.
when it comes to, like, anything uniformed work, so police, ambulance, fire brigade, uh, the health sector, anything like that, I think you need to love your job. If you don't love it,
Yeah.
then you're not going to be asked. Do you know what I mean? Because you're like, oh well, can't be asked
Yeah.
today, so I'm just gonna lay back and be a bit more lazy about it, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. You're not gonna, like, watch over that person properly.
Mm-hmm.
Something might slide in, but fuck it. I'm not
Yeah.
asked. I get off in 5 minutes, so it's not my job.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who loves a job, they'll probably stay for an extra half an hour to an hour max.
Yeah.
If that person needs that extra care, you will
Mm-hmm.
stay there just to make sure they have that extra care. And for example, night team will come over. You do your handover, and you still make sure that person's all right just before you
Yeah.
leave. Do you know what I mean? That to me is someone
Yeah.
who loves the job, and
Yeah.
who will go above and beyond for anyone.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is that is the nature of the job. I mean, I worked before I was doing my nursing, like when I was like 24, 25, I worked in a care home, and it's about building that rapport with the residents and understanding you're not just going to do a job, you're entering their home, in a residential home, even in a nursing home. That person's home, and you're going to show them the care and compassion, the respect, and giving them the ability to tell you their life stories. And I'd sit there and I'd paint residents' nails. And there was the hairdresser Jackie who used to work there as well. And on a Friday night, we'd order fish and chips for everybody, get everybody in the lounge, get a little bit of whiskey out, bit of a tipple, and we do a bit of a spoon dance, and just have that rapport with people. That line of work is not designed for somebody who just sees it as a job, because you're
Yeah.
entering someone's lives, and it's about making a difference to someone's life. I always said when I did my nursing, um, you know, it doesn't matter what qualification someone has. It's not, to be fair, I know with nursing, and obviously most jobs you have to be qualified and you have to know where you're coming from, and I'm proud of the qualifications that I've got. But as far as I'm concerned, my qualifications aren't worth the paper they're written on, because what matters to me is me making a difference and an impact in my client's or service user's life, to know that they can go and live their life fulfilling, and that I've made a difference, that they feel more fulfilled and they can actually achieve things in life. I don't sit there thinking, well, I've got this set of qualifications and I'm academic, because it's, I don't give a shit about that. I wouldn't have give a shit about what qualifications someone's got. I'm more than happy to sit and speak to somebody who's doing maybe caretaking, and I'm more than happy to have a conversation with someone who's an MD of the hospital. It's There's no differentiation. You can't put a title when it comes to care and making a difference in someone's life. You can't put a title on that. I don't agree with that.
Yeah. No, I agree 100% there as well. And it's just, I take my hat off to anyone who does work in the care sector as well, because
Mm,
it's so hard. And I know this from first-hand experience due to my mother. She's a care worker as well. And
yeah.
the amount of times she's come home and she's been quiet, or she's broke down, and you
Mm,
know it's not that, it's the long hours as well. And
yeah.
my mum, she works so hard, and she puts everyone else in that care home above herself, and she goes
Oh,
above and beyond. And there's times where she's come home and she's broke down because one of the people in the care home have passed away. And
mm.
I think that would break me in doing a job like that, me personally, because you get so close to someone,
You do.
and then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? And
It is difficult.
it's so hard. And but on the upside of it, she comes home and tells us stories like, oh, so an example. I'm just like thinking about it. So this gentleman, he had dementia, and we'll call him John, for example. So John, he couldn't make it to the toilet, so he's ended up having a number two in his room.
Oh,
Now another um person in the care home has gone in thinking it was chocolate, picked it up, and took a bite of this poo. So
wow.
one's covered in poo, and then the other one's just walking around. I was like, what? Obviously,
Bless.
if you're capable, you know, it's like what goes through that person's mind. But
Yeah.
a person like that with, you know, that mind, you know, if at the age, you know, dementia and all that sort of stuff, that they're not
Yeah.
going to know what that is. You know, if to think it's chocolate, I think it's chocolate.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I
It's
mean? I mean, dementia and Alzheimer's. I think that's one of the worst things to have. Like me personally, there's plenty of things that you can have wrong with you, but you know, not knowing who somebody is, you know,
I
it's
think I think
hard.
the key part of that is as well is how the care worker, how the support worker will handle that situation, and handling it with compassion and dignity. Um, because even though that person with dementia won't understand that situation fully, another resident might. And it's about maintaining their dignity and being
Yeah.
able to approach the situation very, very sensitively. I've been in very similar situations where when I was doing my nursing, and I'll give you a particular example. I was in a cubicle with a lady, and she was very compos mentis. She had all her faculties, she had all her faculties and everything. And unfortunately, she soiled herself. And she looked at me and she said, and I was working with another nurse. And she looked at me, she said, I'm so sorry. She couldn't apologise enough. And I said, listen, honestly, there's nothing to apologise about. But the nurse I was working with said, oh, we've got to move on to do medication round. We'll get the auxiliary staff in. And I was like, no. I said, we're here now. And I got my penny and things. And I said, no. So I said to the nurse, to just outside the cubicle, I said, I'm not going to bring another person into the cubicle because obviously I didn't want this lady to feel more degraded than she felt. Obviously she felt embarrassed, she felt mortified.
Yeah.
And I was not going to subject her to feeling more um degraded in how she was feeling at that point. So I said to the nurse, I'm staying here and I'm going to help this lady. But for me at that time, there was no way I was going to subject that lady to feeling more uncomfortable than she already was. It didn't
Mm.
matter what my job position was in that situation. I wanted to help that lady feel as comfortable as she possibly could at that time. I mean, she couldn't say thank you enough, but I mean, there was nothing to say thank you or sorry, or we're there to do a job, regardless of what that job is. Whether it's to hold the hand because they're feeling unsure, whether it's to give them assistance with toileting, whether it's to hold the hair back while they're being sick. Your job, your position in that situation, again, as I just said, your qualifications don't come into it. Your pay grade doesn't come into it. It literally is what qualities you possess as a person, as an individual. And when we was in university, lecturers turned around and said, yes, we can teach you this, that, and the other, but we can't teach you how to be a good person. We can't teach you the qualities that nursing actually does need. And that's where the difference is between being educated and having the qualifications to go out there and look after people, and having the innate qualities to actually be able to go out there and look after people. And that's where the difference completely is.
Yeah. No, I agree with everything that you just said then. And
Yeah.
going back to my mum and when she's moved around from different care places as well. So
Yeah.
again, another gentleman with dementia as well. He used to get aggressive and violent, and my
Yeah.
mum's come home, and I'm assuming you'll understand this from first-hand experience as well. You know, some of them can get violent as well, and very,
Mhm.
very, very hands-on, and you know, people just assume
Yeah.
because they're old and you know, they can't handle themselves, and a lot of the times these older people have quite a lot of strength behind them as well. And what people don't realize as well is some of these people in these care homes, they probably could be ex-army veterans as well. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah. I
it's
mean, it's again, to be in that position, to have what we call is de-escalation skills. So it's to be able to have that ability to bring that person's, when they're feeling so irate, being able to bring them back into a place where they're feeling a lot calmer, and just being able to de-escalate the situation, and not see, everyone's different.
yeah,
And again, when you work in these areas, it's about understanding and getting to know the people individually. And you could be working with somebody where you know that maybe a certain tone of voice or certain words can be triggers to that person, and you might know that if they find themselves in a certain position, or if they feel like they're being attacked, they're gonna escalate their emotions. So it's just a case of being able to communicate and understand where that person's coming from, and how to de-escalate the situation, in how you know that person would respond to that situation. Not, well, I'm the authoritative one and this is, you need to do as I, because that is not going to work with a lot of people. I mean, if someone came at me and tried telling me how to start behaving, I'd be like, you know so you can't approach a situation in an authoritative way. I always say, and I used to go to people's houses and appointments in my combat pants and t-shirt. I wouldn't even wear my ID, because to me there's no hierarchy. There's no, I'm the expert, you're the client service user, or we're on the same level. We're all human, and we all want to get to the same, we all want this person to get to the same point. So it's a case of just being able to work with the person and work with their personalities, and know exactly how you're going to be able to support this person and de-escalate the situation, and not make it worse, and, well, adding fuel to the fire, really.
yeah. So going to your charity organization as well, I want to talk about that a little bit now.
Mm?
So where can people find, information about your charity organization? Is it just on Facebook, or do you have a website, or
Yeah, we have a website. We have a
yeah,
website, and we're on Facebook as well, as Karen's Haven for COPD. The website is www.karens slash haven slash for slash copd.org. But if you go onto the Facebook page, there's a link on there that will take you straight to the website anyway. So all the information's on there.
yeah,
I mean, with the organisation, because we're at the very beginning of setting up the not-for-profit organisation, we are just starting to offer services like bereavement support groups, breathwork support groups. So we're going to be offering like 4 weekly programs to people, to offer them like de-stress, because with with mental health and with physical health, we're looking at the person holistically, which taking into consideration the mind, the body, the soul. Because I think when you do that, you kind of bring in the immune system in um back into a place where it can work with the body. When you're feeling less stressed, when you're feeling, you can kind of look at a situation more clearly. You're not, when people are stressed, your immune system is suppressed. So that's when you'll find recovery more difficult. You'll find, so what we're looking to do, because obviously we're working with COPD and as well people with life limiting conditions, but we're looking to reduce hospital admissions. We're looking to reduce A&E attendances, because with COPD, when you become exacerbated, when you feel like you can't breathe, you become agitated and anxious. And when you become anxious, you feel like you can't breathe. So it's a vicious circle. So what we're looking to do with the groups is to help people manage their own conditions to the point where they then become in control of their own conditions. Self-management, self-care, recognizing when you feel like an exacerbation's coming on, so you then be able to manage it at home with the techniques that we'll be teaching people, breath work, like I said, dealing with people, dealing with their conditions holistically. Um, and then we'll also be offering home care support, which will be people, whether they're end stage COPD or whether they just need somebody, that additional support at home. If they need an advocate, if they need somebody to help support them, it's just giving somebody that opportunity to not feel completely isolated and alone in where they're at.
Yeah, no, I think it's I think it's quite fantastic as well what you're doing, and
Thank you.
I've not come across personally, charity organisations as, like yours or anything like that. I think it's quite unique, and I think it's quite, it's quite different as well. Which I think is really good, because obviously when you're doing any sort of business, I think it's quite vital that you need to be, you know, different, and not like mold into what everyone else is doing, because if you're molding into what everyone else is doing, then it's
Yeah.
like, well, how how do you differ compared to that person? Do you know what I mean? Say for example, you've got a hair salon and somebody else has got a hair salon, and it's like, well, okay, how can we be how can we compete with this other person and get more clients in than them? Do you know what I mean? Whereas
Yeah.
you're doing something out of the ordinary, and you're offering a lot of services as well.
Mm.
So I think that alone, you'll do fantastic in it. I hope you do fantastic in it as well, to be
Thank
honest with
you.
you, because you know, going through what you have gone through and everything, I think you need that break in life. I think you need
Yeah.
something just to be like, oh well, look what I've done. Well, you've done a lot, and you've accomplished a lot as well. Like I
Yeah.
said, obviously you've had the cancer, you've kicked its ass. You're currently writing a book. You're a therapist as well, and that
Yeah.
that in itself is quite amazing. It's quite outstanding work, and you're setting up a
Thank you.
charity organization, which is pretty much already set up. So
Yeah.
all in all, I think you're doing absolutely fantastic, to be honest with you.
Oh, thank you very much for that. I mean, with the organization, obviously, like, so there's myself and there's two other directors of the organization, and so my role within the organization will be to do like education as well, because I feel very passionate about self-development, being able to personally grow. No one's ever the same. Even if you look back and you look back at yourself 5 years ago, you're a completely different person. So evolvement and like personal growth is very important to me. But with conditions like COPD, so I'm very passionate about education and helping people with limiting beliefs. So obviously we're going to be supporting people with life limiting conditions and like COPD, but the aim would be to also prevent people to getting that to that point. So I will be going out to schools, businesses, colleges, and supporting people and helping them transform their lives and making better decisions going forward. So
Yeah.
that's something that I feel really passionate about.
No, I think it's really fantastic, and
Thank you.
I can vision it already, and I believe that it's gonna be quite a big success as well.
Thank you.
I'm a strong, firm believer as well. Like, obviously, if you vision it, it will
Yeah.
happen if you have that mindset.
Yeah.
Manifestation is quite big as well.
Yeah.
So before we before we wrap up the episode and everything, is there anything you'd like to say to anyone who's watching? What advice would you like to give out?
Personally, I just want people to just say, I want to say to people is continue to have that self-belief, no matter at what point or where, what stage you're at, or what your visions are, is to just dream big, like literally go for gold. You cannot have your sights too low. You can't, if you reach for the moon, if you hit the stars, you've hit the jackpot. Just literally have that self-belief that you have to have a little bit of insanity. You have to have visions where people think, oh my god, you're crazy. Like, and believe me, people have looked at me as if to say, like, that's not even possible, but I've made stuff happen. And that's the point that people should be at, to literally saying, this is where I want to be at, and I'm going to do it. Some people can do it on their own. Some people might just need that little bit of extra support. Me as a life coach, like, people hire personal trainers to transform the bodies. I always say, well, hire a personal coach to transform your mind. It's exactly the same thing. It's giving someone the tools and the abilities to say, well, this is where I can go. And when you continuously are able to formulate those steps and those changes in your life, it becomes a habit, and you create new neural pathways in your mind where it becomes natural to do that in everyday life. And that's exactly what life coaching is.
Yeah. Oh, that's really amazing, and it's quite a powerful way to end the episode as well.
Thank
Is
you.
is there anything you would like to promote personally before we go?
Well, we'll do another interview when I've published my book, and I'd want to promote that. That will
What's the
be a
book?
good read. That
What's
will
the
be a
book
good
going to be
read.
called?
Well, to be honest, I've not fully got a name. I was going to call it something like "You couldn't write this shit," but here I am. I don't know. I've no idea what I'm gonna call it yet, but it'll be an interesting read.
I have a vision for you. Are you ready? Emma's autobiography.
Do
Plain
you
and
know what?
simple.
That's a winner.
I bet no
Don't think
one's
that
got a
one's
book
been
like
done
that,
yet.
have they? Not that title. But no, yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on, and
Thank you.
at least this time it's actually recorded, because last time we couldn't get it to record.
We won't talk about that.
No, technical difficulties.
Yeah.
It's technology. We'll blame it on the technology, not us.
A hiccup. It's a hiccup. I mean, it was a good interview,
It
but
was. But this one's been. I think this one's been better, to be honest with you.
I think this one's been more insightful.
Yeah, it's been quite up and down. Obviously we've been
Yeah.
talking about a lot of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's
I
been.
mean, I've got topics to talk about for years, Ross. So if there's any other conversations that you want to have, we'll talk about it. It's absolutely fine.
No worries. Right, well, I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on to the podcast as well, and
Oh, thank you for having me.
no, it's been a pleasure, and I'm sure at some point in the near future we'll have you on again when the book's out. So
Watch this space.
I,
Watch
I,
this
I,
space.
I want a signed book off you as well.
Personal copy.
Hand delivered to my address, please.
Hand delivered, personally written, personal copy.
Oh, looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Amazing.
All right, no worries. Thank you for your time anyway.
Thank you. Speak to you later.
Cheers.